Broadcasting from various countries around the world using voice over IP technology, this is VoIP Uncovered, a VoIP on Solutions UK podcast. I'm Kathleen Reed. Last week at TMC Net's IT Expo, Redfone Communications, providers of next-generation open-source telephony solutions to small to enterprise-sized businesses, and makers of the Phone Bridge product line, announced they were integrating Telesoft's TS-Link-Net's IP PBX gateway solution into their telecom offerings. Joining us today is Mark Warren, the company's president. Thank you for joining us today, Mark. So in light of this recent announcement, what changes are in store for your product line, and what does this mean for your customers?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting us to participate in the podcast, Kathleen. With this announcement, first of all, we're really excited to be partnering with such a first-class organization like Telesoft. These guys are highly talented and experienced veterans in the telephony world. As you probably know, Telesoft's code has been and continues to be used by all of the major telco gear manufacturers around the world, and we're excited to finally be bringing their offering to the open source telephony community and others. Specifically, what this product will allow Redfone to do is now offer T1 or E1 to SIP connectivity to any SIP compliant PBX or application. So, we're getting outside the realm of just open source telephony like Asterix or FreeSwitch or Elastic or Trixbox, and we're branching out into anything that's essentially SIP compliant. And although the product does work fantastically with all the popular guys like I just mentioned, Asterix and FreeSwitch, we'll be able to play friendly with other popular products like SIPX, the 3CX product, OpenSIPs, which is another popular open source SIP-based product that was called OpenSIR before, and like I said, anybody that has a SIP compliant application or PBX. Some of the highlights of the product are it basically takes the guesswork out of having to integrate with the PSTN, the public switch telephone network. So that tends to be a headache for a lot of developers that don't understand some of these archaic standards that were built into ISDN, and we try to take all the guesswork out of it with this particular product offering. It does all of the magic and just hands off the connectivity in the form of a simple SIP trunk to the end user, which can then plug it into whatever SIP compliant application or device. It can run alongside their software application on the same server, or it can function as a highly robust and affordable T1E1 to SIP gateway on a standalone type device.
Okay, great. On another front, Redfone introduced a new low-cost single-port phone bridge device at the beginning of the year. What is the market for this new offering?
Well, Redfone has been the de facto standard for large, complex, high availability type systems for a number of years now. We've been happy and successful in that niche, but at the same time, we've noticed that many of our customers and many of the people in the market have overlooked the fact that our devices are also great alternatives to legacy PCI type interfaces, and are a perfect fit for simple, not complex, single T1 or E1 installs. So this new single port offering is positioned for those types of implementations. It's cost competitive when compared to equivalent single port PCI card offerings, and like all of our other products, it's really simple to install and maintain.
There is a lot of competition in this market. Why would someone choose a phone bridge appliance? And how do you differentiate yourself against failover solutions like those from OpenVox and Rhino?
Well, generally speaking, our device is a lot more flexible in terms of compatibility with different types of server platforms. So one of the areas that we addressed from the very beginning when we got into this game back in 2004 was to make it a lot easier to integrate Asterix at the time with the telephone company. Back then, the only thing that was available were the PCI-based cards, and they had a number of issues in terms of compatibility with different types of server motherboards and such. So we kind of eliminated that factor to begin with. Speaking directly to the different failover offerings out there, looking at the OpenVox and the Rhino offerings, for example, both of those solutions are based on the fact that in order to get full redundancy, you have to double up on the number of PCI interface cards that have to be, and then on top of that, their specific failover gear that sits in the middle, which essentially means a triple of the investment that you would normally make. And second, by virtue of introducing more devices in the mix, you're also introducing more single points of failure, which is kind of counter to what high availability is all about. The Redfone device provides everything in a single, very robust, durable device solution, and at the cost of a single PCI card. So, to summarize, it's easier to install. It's going to be a fraction of the cost of those other solutions, and not to mention we've been in the high availability game probably longer than anybody else in this particular market.
You touched on this briefly, but what are the economic benefits to choosing a Redfone phone bridge 2 over, say, a TDM card and software installed on a server?
Well, at face value, our products are very comparable in pricing to the many legacy PCI card offerings on the market. In a few cases, we're actually even a little more affordable. But beyond just a price comparison, our devices allow system architects, like I mentioned earlier, much more flexibility in their choice of server hardware, which can also equate to a reduction in their total cost of ownership or implementation. With the ease of install of our devices and the fact that they are not so hardware dependent, many of our customers are learning that they no longer have to invest in the biggest, most expensive brand name server platforms to get everything to work properly. They can go out and buy inexpensive commodity server hardware and use that savings to leverage better discounts to their end customers, or impress the boss with their savvy money saving strategies.
Great. And one last question for you, Mark. Where do you see the market going, and what would you think the next steps are going to be for Redfone?
Well, definitely we're seeing a continued growth in the adoption of open source telephony, without a doubt. At this stage in the game, Asterisk, for example, has been on the market now for 10 years. The stigma of it being just a nerd project without a lot of legs underneath it to really compete with the big boys has been overcome. The fact also that open source telephony is being adopted by governments as well as large enterprises in high-profile instances in some case is bolstering the legitimacy of open source. So the uptake of open source telephony in general is going to continue to grow. Add to that there's also some pretty strong competition amongst the different open source applications being developed on the market today. So it's pretty apparent that open source is going to be around for a while, and people are going to continue to get to know it and use it. In addition to that, we don't see the need for traditional TDM connectivity to the PSTN to go away. There's still the need to interface with a T1 or an E1 line, or even legacy PBXs if you're interfacing your open source telephony application with an old PBX. But long term, it does seem that everything is converging on the SIP protocol, which Redfone is definitely now positioned to serve with our latest offerings from the Telesoft stable of products.
Well, thanks for your time today, Mark. Mark Warren is president of Redfone Communications. This has been a VoIP on Covered podcast brought to you by VoIP on Solutions. For more information, please visit www.voipon.co.uk.